Hey everyone, and welcome to English with Miss V. Today it's all about past tense verbs, all right? So we are going to be looking at regular past tense verbs and unfortunately some very irregular past tense verbs, all right? So hopefully you will learn something today from this lesson. I think it's super important because in my travels and talking to different people in Italian when I try, I'm constantly telling the story from the past or talking about what I did last night or last weekend. So for me, being able to speak in the past tense has been super important when I've learned a different language. So hopefully this helps all of you guys today in your travels when you're in an English speaking environment to be able to speak correctly in the past tense. Okay. Remember, verbs are doing words, so playing, swimming, running. So whenever I refer to a verb today, that's what I'm talking about, okay? So let's get straight into it. Now, regular past tense verbs. Everyone say regular, okay? So most verbs in English are quite simple. You only need to add ed, okay, to make it past tense. So most verbs in English, the regular verbs, are very simple. You just take the original word, add ed, and you've made it into past tense. So very easy, okay? Let's look at some examples of those. Yesterday, I walked to school, okay? So the original word was walk. We add ed and it becomes walked. Now we're talking past tense. We played soccer last weekend. The original word was play. We add ed, it becomes past tense. She worked late last night. Okay, so these ones are very simple, very basic. We add ed and we're good to go. It's past tense. All right. Can you come up with your own sentence? You can use one of these if you want, just to practice, but try and think of a word that becomes past tense just by adding ed. Have a go at doing that. Okay, now we have to go into the irregular past tense verbs. So some verbs, unfortunately, and for no reason that I can ever explain to you, change completely. So some verbs change completely. Obviously, these are irregular verbs. Okay. So for example, I go to work. Yesterday, I went to work. So go has become went. Went is the past tense of go. And I don't know why, it just is. They eat pizza. Last night they ate pizza, not eated. Do not say eated pizza, okay? A lot of my students do that. They will just add ed to every verb. So they will say, yesterday I goed, or they eated pizza. No, I know what you're trying to do, but it's incorrect. So we're going to fix that. All right, she buys a dress. That becomes, last week she bought a dress. Okay, so buy becomes bought. And we're not going to talk about the spelling of bought. I know that it's B-O-U-G-H-T. It's pronounced bought, and that's for a whole nother lesson for a whole nother day. We can't get into that right now. English is weird, guys. I'm so sorry. So go becomes went, eat becomes ate, and buy becomes bought, or buys becomes bought. All right. I chose those three because they're the ones that I use very regularly on the daily. Okay. Let's look at more irregular verb examples. So some verbs don't change at all, which is amazing. These are probably the best verbs, okay, because you don't have to think about it. They just stay the same no matter what. So some examples of verbs that don't change, whether we're in the past or the present tense, are cut. Cut is just cut. And put is just put. It stays the same whether you are in past tense or present tense, okay? So I could say, I cut the page. Yesterday, I cut my finger. Stays the same, all right? And it works the same with put. I put my bag down. Yesterday, I put my clothes away. It's the same, and we love that. Easy. Let's look at some more examples. So last week, I cut my hair. It's not true. Last week, I cut my hair. We're talking in the past tense, but the word cut doesn't change. Yesterday, he put the book on the table. Stays the same. He let his dog outside last night. So let is another word that stays the same whether we're in the past or the present, okay? Yesterday, I let my dog outside. Or yesterday, I let my son watch TV, for example, okay? So let stays the same, put stays the same, and cut stays the same. And there's probably many others, but these are the ones that I thought of first. Okay, vowel change. So some verbs, when they become past tense, change one vowel sound or one vowel, okay? Remember, vowels are A, E, I, O, U. What are the vowels? Exactly. Perfect. Okay. So all the other letters in the alphabet are consonants, but A, E, I, O, U are vowels. So in many verbs, they become past tense by changing the vowel. I'll show you what I mean. Drive becomes drove. So we changed that vowel. Ride becomes rode. Yesterday, I rode my bike. So we changed one vowel. Sing becomes sang. Yesterday, I sang at a concert. Swim becomes swam. All right. So this is what I mean when I'm talking about the vowel change. So we've changed one vowel sound. I became O, I became O, I became A, and I became A. We changed one vowel sound to make it past tense. These are just a couple of those examples. Let's use these in a sentence. He drove to work yesterday. We don't say he drived to work, so you can't just add ed, all right? He drove to work yesterday. She sang a song at the concert, okay? So a couple of examples for you there with those ones. Quick practice. All right, so I have given you a clue here, and I want you to turn those words into past tense correctly, okay? So that the sentence makes sense. For example, yesterday I to the gym. So what is the past tense of go? She lunch at 1 p.m. So what is the past tense of eat? We to the beach last Sunday. What's the past tense of drive? So if you want, you can pause the video now, write these down in your notebook, have a go, and then we can mark it together. So for the first one, you should have had went. Give yourself a tick if you wrote down went for that one. Yesterday, I went to the gym. Okay, so went is the past tense of go. She ate, not eated. If you put eated, give it a cross and correct it, okay? She ate lunch at 1 p.m. We drove. That's the vowel change word, okay? So we drove to the beach last Sunday, okay? Not drived, drove. We drove. Well done if you got all of those correct. Okay, final challenge, if you like. I want you to have a go, everybody, at telling a story about yesterday using past tense verbs correctly. Now, you can totally make it up. That's fine, as long as you're using the words in past tense correctly. That's all I care about, okay? Make it up. Make it as crazy as you want. It doesn't have to be very long, but it does have to be correct, all right? So my example is, yesterday I woke up early. So woke up is the past tense of wake up. So yesterday I woke up early, ate breakfast, and drove to work. Okay, so that's my example of using a sentence with a couple of past tense verbs. Have a go at doing that yourself. Write it down. It's always best to write things down. It really sticks in your brain when you do that. Okay, now I'm not sure if you can see these, so I'm going to read them out loud to you. Okay, I just gathered a bunch of verbs, irregular verbs, that I think are very useful to learn off by heart. Guys, I'm sorry, but sometimes there's just no rules for these things. It is what it is, and you just have to learn them off by heart. When I was learning Italian, some of the rules just don't make any sense, and I would ask my teacher, but why? Why is that rule? Like, why? And my teacher said to me, because it sounds better. It just sounds nicer, which is so dumb, but it's probably true. Okay, sometimes the rules just exist because they exist and there's nothing we can do about it. And it's the same with English. Sometimes, guys, you just have to memorize the irregular words, the irregular verbs, and there's no explanation for it. You just got to learn it. So here are some of the most popular irregular verbs. So this is present tense, past tense, okay? Have becomes had. Do becomes did. Swim, swam. See, saw. Seesaw. That's cool. So see becomes saw. Come, came. Take, took. Write, wrote. Get becomes got. Make becomes made. And bring becomes brought. Again, we can't cover spelling today with some of these words because they're just crazy. But those are the most common. If you want, pause the video here and listen to me again and write down these irregular verbs. Well, everyone, that's all we have time for today. If you would like to book your one-on-one session with me, click on the link in the description. And remember, everyone, that practice makes progress.